Hi, my name is Andrew Columbro. I'm a student at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, and I am currently an intern at Saavi Services for the Blind. I'm here for another episode of Meet the Blind for National Blind Awareness Month. I'm here joined by Seth Leblond. Seth, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Andrew. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Yeah. Um, yes, doing well. Sun's out, can't complain.
It is. It is. I'm sitting here on my patio, and it's actually pretty comfortable out here. The sun is pretty warm, but it's Arizona. What do you expect?
Yeah, hopefully it starts to cool down pretty soon.
I
Um,
know. I can't wait.
Yeah, I heard you're quite the music fanatic. I wanted to definitely pick your brain a little bit on music, and yeah. So, what got you into music, and yeah, just start from there.
Well, my dad was a musician. My dad played keyboards in bands when I was a little kid. He had a little cover band. Well, a couple of them. The Scott Folsom Band, a band called Cornerstone. Um, he had this sax player that he used to jam with. His name was John Hussenfuss. I always thought that was a cool name. And I guess I've been into music since before I could talk. When I was little, according to people who were there, the only two things that would stop me from crying, I cried all the time apparently, were if my mother would hold me or if my dad would play music. It would shut me right up. So I have always been interested in music and keyboards in particular. Uh, in the house growing up, we had an old Hammond E112 organ, a drawbar organ, and that's the organ that I learned to play keyboards on, and eventually sort of expanded that to pianos and electric pianos and other kinds of keyboard instruments. I can play the accordion a little bit. Um, it's a common misconception that all keyboard instruments are the same. So they are all totally distinct, and you have to use different playing styles and stuff like that to play them. But I've always been interested in music. I got my first little toy piano for Christmas when I was 3 years old, and it was a lot different from the toy pianos that kids have nowadays. It was actually made out of wood, and it looked like a real miniature piano, and it had a little wooden stool with it. And I remember just from the first time that I got it, just not banging on it like you see a lot of kids doing, but I was trying to pick out melodies and play the stuff that I would hear on the radio, and I didn't do it very well at first, but that really sort of got me started on my journey of being interested in learning how to play music.
That's awesome. Yeah. With that, what is like your most influential band or like your favorite band?
You know, I when I was a kid, the only thing I listened to was jazz. I loved jazz. I still do. When I was a teenager, though, my dad offered me the words of wisdom: Seth, don't become a musical snob. And so I started kind of branching out and listening to other stuff. But the upshot is that I have so many different musical interests that it is really hard for me to pick one. Like I have favorite bands in different genres. Like my favorite jazz artist is Dave Brubeck. He's a tremendous piano player that I've been able to see in concert. Fortunately, he's no longer with us, so I'm glad I got to see him. My favorite hip hop artist is Eminem. My
that's,
favorite,
that's awesome.
uh, yeah, my favorite avant-garde group is probably the Liquid Tension Experiment. Um, but I really like, 90s rock. I really like, Blues Traveler, Hootie and the Blowfish, from that genre. I love classic rock. That's probably classic rock now, right? I'm getting old.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
I grew up. My dad's like 62. My dad's a baby boomer, so I grew up listening to like Steve Miller Band, U2.
yeah,
Like I
Take
grew
the
up,
Money and Run.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I like Steve Miller. I like Steely Dan is a great band.
yeah.
Van
Really,
Halen. good stuff. I like stuff that's musically interesting, or if it's songs with lyrics, songs that tell a story.
Yeah,
So yeah, my musical styles and influences are all over the place.
that's awesome. Um, I was going to talk a little bit more about what you do for Saavi currently. Like, what is your role at Saavi?
So just recently, I have been hired on as the statewide assistive technology manager. So my role right now is to help continual developing of programming for students. Obviously, technology is an ever-changing field, and we kind of really needed someone to consistently develop uh, ongoing programming. Um, we also are in the process of developing some really exciting plans for maybe training assistive technology trainers. Um, so I supervise the assistive technology staff and try to support them as much as I possibly can. Try to help integrate technology into other classes because obviously we have lots of different areas that we actually teach in. Prior to that, I was the comprehensive services coordinator in Phoenix. So I got a lot of familiarity with all of the instruction areas. I did that for 4.5 years. And prior to that, I was an assistive technology instructor for almost 15 years in different roles in different places. But I've been with Saavi since like April of 2012 in now 3 different roles. So,
Gotcha. I have also heard that your your mom as well works at Saavi as
oh
well.
yeah,
And so maybe talk a little bit more. For me, I grew up all around a family business myself back home in Washington. Always working every summer and winter break, working at my dad's, always working with like family members. So I can relate to some level what it's like to be working with a family member. So I wanted to maybe just talk about like what is the work environment like?
I have a lot of respect for my mother. My mother taught me a lot of what I know. My mom's the one who taught me Braille, and she's the one who insisted that I keep my part of the house clean, which as a teenager included, um, you know, my restroom, my my room. We had a living room area upstairs. So she taught me how to manage a home and how to cook and um, so that's kind of that's her space at Saavi. And so it's been really good working with my mom. We had a job opening, let's see, in 2014. I guess she's been working with us for over 6 years now. And I told her about it. She was living out in California at the time. I told her about it. I told her I thought that we could really use her help, and she came on board. And then she, like right around the same time, is when the announcement was made that I was going to be having a son, and that made her really want to come out. So we really have a great working relationship. There's a lot of mutual respect. She respects what I do. I respect what she does, and we keep our personal and professional lives for the most part totally separate.
Mm.
At work, she's Connie, and at home, she's Mom. And we've done a really good job sort of keeping that separate and having a really good work relationship as well as a personal relationship during the many years that she's been working at the same place as I have.
Awesome. Yeah. And I obviously know that family is important to you. You currently have a little boy. I definitely want to hear more about him.
Oh,
Um,
he's the best. His name's Gavin. He is 5. He's in kindergarten now. He's back inside the house doing kindergarten right now. It's all day kindergarten. My mother-in-law is helping out at the moment with his classes. So she's working with him. I'm really, really fortunate because she was a teacher for 40 years before she retired. So she brings a lot of expertise. I could not have done this virtual um, schooling during the pandemic without her. This is Gavin's last day of virtual school for the moment. They're actually going back in person. Well, it's his last day of virtual school at my house. He'll go to his mom's house to for a few days of school next week. But so he's going to get to go back to in-person school starting next Thursday, and we're all really excited about that. He is hilarious and precocious, and he knows all his state capitals. We taught him those when he was 2. He loves his stuffed animals. We call it his zoo. We got a ton of stuffed animals on his bed. His favorite one is a sock monkey that he calls Saucy, because when he was really little, he couldn't say sock monkey. So Saucy has just become the sock monkey's name. Yeah. So he loves his iPad. He's actually self-taught himself how to use it, which is frightening, but also good. And he's just, I mean, you know, being a dad is the greatest thing in the world.
That's awesome. Sounds good.
I recommend it.
Yeah, that's definitely a goal of mine, hopefully sometime.
There you go.
Yeah. I think this wraps it up for this episode of Meet the Blind. Seth, I want to thank you again so much, and it's been good to finally be able to see you face-to-face virtually, because we did have a couple classes of training prior, and now it's finally good to be able to see you.
Well, here I am.
Yeah, thank hopefully we'll be able to meet you soon in person.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Thanks for the interview, Andrew. I appreciate it very much.
Of course, yeah, and you have a good rest of your day and have a great weekend.
You do the same.
Awesome. And this is Andrew Clumbro signing out from Saavi Services for the Blind. And it's not what you can see, it's about who you are.